The main brief of our client is like how to convert like a 16th century building. I mean, at the beginning was 16th century, later on becomes like a more 12th century with all the things that we found in the building. But the idea was how to create like a building which has a lot of history and combine that into like a modern amenities. So whoever wants an apartment in this building really wants something that is new, comfortable, but at the same time, like be able to have the flavor of a very old and historic building.
There were two residential buildings with two different degrees of protection. One of them was very protected, one of them was less protected. And the brief from the client was to do a residential building, and we had to kind of figure out what was the right amount of dwellings in all those square meters. It was around 3,000 square meters.
So the building is located in Mallorca, in the city of Palma, in a very special place because it's just in the old city, very close to places like the cathedral. So it's just the Plaza Mayor, so really right in the center of Palma. And the history of the building at the beginning we thought was more from the 16th century, although later on we found out that it was like 300 years earlier than what we expected at the beginning. The building is the connection between two existing buildings. One is the Esta Forteza building, and the other is called Can Valero, which is like 3 levels below the building Esta Forteza. These are some images of the two buildings that we found before we did the construction, the renovation. The idea was how to create a building which is really comfortable and really contemporary inside a building which is from the 16th century. So the idea was to create something really different and new. So we proposed this social core, which is something that very typical in many places, but in Mallorca, there are not that many buildings that has this social cores. The first idea was to really protect and upgrade the elements that we found in the building. We identify like handrails, different floors, columns, woodworks. And then the idea was to upgrade those elements that we found by completing some stones, some moldings, some beams on the ceiling. So really try to improve those elements a little bit by renovating those. And then also we create like a architectural strategies, which was like a collection of scenographic elements that were like on the top of this existing building. These elements are like mirrors, some wood platforms, some bathrooms, stairs.
You know, 4th floor in a building that is not even protected, you don't expect to find anything historical important. When we demolished all these partitions, and the suddenly we found this, right? It's a spectacular kind of wooden cassonette type of ceiling, but it's a little bit too low ceiling, no, to be something important. But then we pay close attention, and there's all these like Jewish inscriptions. But it was weird because it's not in the Jewish quartier of Palma, so it's kind of strange. But then we went into detailing with historians and archaeologists that we work with and made a close restoration, and we found under all the thousands of layers of sheetrock and painting and more painting, this amazing polychromy that dates back from the 12th century. And it's basically explaining the history of the conquer of Mallorca by the Christians. This is one of the findings that we found, but there were many. This in particular made us change half of the project along during the construction process, which was a big headache, but very exciting and interesting.
From what I understand is you worked for a developer. So
Yes.
the future tenants, they were not involved in your whole design process. So did you make up the whole program, or were the new tenants involved in your design process?
Some of the tenants, some of the units were sold before even starting construction. So with those, we worked closely, and we actually made all the interior design with 3 apartments, including all furniture and everything. With others, they were just simply, I love this, I don't change the line, you know. And with others, we didn't know. There were 3 or 4 that were sold after, so we had to finish them.
And when you discovered that amazing ceiling and you realized what you had, it's like, oh my goodness. So this is a dream for designers to happen in any building. And you get this, oh my goodness, like, wow. And then did you go back to your studio, or you went and had coffee and you opened up a sketchbook and went, oh my goodness, what do we do? What was your response? I'm so curious.
Well, it was really a collaborative work, right? Our first reaction, super naive. Okay, this is in our core. Can we just simply get this whole ceiling and like move it into the last floor? And come on, guys, we move castles to the US. It can be impossible. but then of course the response from the city hall is like, no way, this is. Because then you have to understand that for historians, it doesn't matter if we completely uncover it with concrete on top of it and under it. The important thing is like in another millennium, someone is able to find what it was. They don't care about opening it up and show it to the people. It's okay if you cover it in concrete, as long as you document it properly and you say this is here, and then you put it in a book and everyone knows that's there. We have to go along with archaeologists, historians, and let everyone speak and respect them what they're saying, because they know more than you. And it was a very collaborative process.
Absolutely wonderful and amazing. And what I loved the most about it was the lack of ego that you have as designers in regards to paying respect to the building, to your client, and to the end users who are going to live there. You gave space and room to all of those things, and it's very, very obvious, and that's why I loved it as a design.
Along with everyone that saw the project on the jury, I think we all were impressed with the restraint and the minimal aesthetic that you employed to celebrate what you found there in the building. And just even the things like the mirror boxes and the small details and the hidden doors and all of these things, they didn't detract from the existing building or the history. They actually amplified it because you're reflecting it. And then today, to learn about the detail of that mirror that you put at the bottom of the column, it's things like that where you're talking about abstract ideas of extending space, but also preserving history. And I think the elegant walkway through the building had this feeling of, it was almost like you were in a museum where you were trying to just view the building and not touch it and protect it. But at the same time, the thing that you created was extremely warm and humane, being all wood and being tactile and something that you can touch and you're drawn to touch. And I think that is the kind of repeating kind of thought that I saw throughout the whole thing that really, really moved me.
What does it mean for co-living? I hope, more historical cities, even if it's monuments, try and develop like co-living buildings like this. It doesn't have to be all musea or monumental sites, but there is a possibility to create co-living spaces in those beautiful gems that we have all over Europe, and of course in the US a bit less old, but amazing.
The certainty of uncertainty, like, okay, we thought we had a really nice project and everything was fine. And then suddenly, okay, no, half of it, there's a part of it doesn't work. And then there's another part that doesn't work either. And then there's another that doesn't work either. And actually all that kind of going back and forth, this feeling of knowing that there's always other ways of working that you can proceed with, that can be even more respectful and that are unexpected, no? Because in a way, this project is very much unexpected from what we had from the beginning. So unexpected is good, in that sense.
So actually the construction was much more fun than, the buildings for all these discoveries that we were going through the construction process. But of course, our learning is like in a construction like that, you never know what is going to happen. You have to really be very carefully with your times, with how much you want to charge to your clients, because the amount of time that you are like devoting is 3 times more than the one that you are expecting at the beginning. So if I will approach a building like that again, I will also think about numbers very carefully.